So right, so I named this presentation the car manufacturer that happened to go beyond Agile. Because Tesla would never say that they are Agile, they just do what they do. In the same way, I guess that Toyota would never say that they're lean, they're just Toyota. And this story starts with a very secret master plan that was published on the Tesla blog, where they basically said, well, we have this great plan. We're gonna produce a sports car and sell it really to like a really expensive car. And from the money that we make from that car, we're gonna use that money to build an affordable car and sell some more cars. And then we're gonna use that money to build an even more affordable car. Right, so that was the secret master plan. Some maybe would call it naive, but all right, that's actually what they did. So they started out building a sports car. They did some development, it was horrible, and it took a lot of time, and they spent at least 5 or more times the money that they had. They almost went bankrupt, but they actually managed to produce a few of these cars and turn a profit. So it worked. First part of the plan, right? Second part of the plan, the affordable car, Model S. So a lot of more people could actually afford it, but it was still maybe not that affordable, but still. So a lot of development, a lot of problems around production, but actually they made it, and they're still producing a couple of 10,000 cars every year. So next step in the master plan, the even more affordable car. I guess that you all maybe have heard about Model 3, of course. So they did some development of the car, they unveiled it. There were a lot of people showing interest. So people were lining up basically to reserve this car, a couple of 100,000, which made them like really eager to produce a lot of cars. So they accelerated all the plans. We can build the best factory and produce a lot of cars. And they started production. Then this happened. So Elon Musk called it production hell. The line didn't work. Didn't produce any cars. So this started, I think, in March of 2017. And still, like 6 months later, they only produced a couple of cars. So this was bad. And they were bleeding cash. And another quarter went by, and still it was just a couple of 1,000 cars. So they had problems. And when another 6 months has passed, and they're still producing maybe a couple of 1,000 cars per week, it's still not enough to turn a profit. So they're nearing bankruptcy. So you need to be creative in the end. And this is what I think, at least, is it's one of the keys to the transformation of Tesla, is the urgency that if we're not doing anything, it's going to be over. So what do you do then? You can basically ask your employees, what can you do within a couple of hours that can make it better? We can't do a project plan. We can't do this like the proper way. We don't even have time to ask a supplier to deliver anything to us in like 3 months' time, because the money might be gone by then. So what can you do? And people got really creative. So this is a picture of a tent. They built a tent in the parking lot and said, all right, so the line obviously doesn't work. So what do? We try to construct a new line of basically the things that we have. So we take the robots that actually do work, place them in the tent, and try to produce a car. And lo and behold, it actually worked. And there's a lot of things here that it might be not really sort of known, maybe no one knows, or at least it's not public, exactly how this went about. But when we go into, and especially I want to sort of see this to you so that you also get inspired on what kind of questions to ask for Joe when he arrives. Because there's some things that we can observe on how they seem to work within Tesla, based on the urgency that they were in. Optimize for speed. As I said, we don't have time for projects. How can we measure what is valuable for us? Is there a way of understanding if I'm doing a change somewhere in the production line, in the design of the car, which is probably also would lead to a change in the production line, right? In the supply chain and everything. Is it a valuable change? How do I know? What's my hypothesis? What do I want to try out? And how can I do it really fast? And also, what kind of questions, like, what suppliers can help us being fast? Because we need to learn. We need to get feedback fast. If we're deciding that, oh, this might be a great idea, let's order some parts and get back here in 3 months. Again, it's too late. So then you call the supplier to say, who can get me a new part tomorrow? Well, that's expensive. Well, how costly is it to wait? You're bleeding cash every day that your factory is not producing. So maybe it's worth paying an extra for that supplier, at least in the beginning, to know if this works. This can also be called cost of delay. What is the cost of calendar time just floating by? Either in the market that we're not selling the cars and others are coming in and selling the same cars, or that we actually have a cost base that is bleeding cash. And some of the questions, like Tesla didn't have any specific strategy, at least what I know, when it comes to insourcing or bringing things in and producing it themselves. But they had to, because no one could deliver within their time frames. I know that maybe Joe is going to talk about it a little bit, but when they were working with Bosch, I think there's something in, I can't remember exactly what part it was, but I think it was the seating, something, control or something. So they wanted to buy that part from Bosch. And maybe someone in this room is more knowledgeable about this, can tell me what kind of contract you would have with Bosch, what kind of time frame you would have when ordering those parts and getting those delivered and getting those changed and so on. And Tesla's basically, you are not getting the deal unless we can make changes and we'll have it within 3 weeks. We need to change the design and get it delivered within 3 weeks. Well, Bosch, what they had to do was basically, okay, we want this customer, but nothing with our current processes works. So we need to construct an entire different team. We take these 20 people, and they are now working with Tesla. Because no one else in the industry wants that speed, so they couldn't reuse it for anyone else. And Tesla needed it. Turns out they were massively successful, but unfortunately within Bosch, no one wanted it, so they were only working with Tesla. But then again, like, if your suppliers can't do that, well, then you have to do it yourself, I guess. In the end. So another part of this is that you see small teams everywhere. A couple of people, 3 to 5 people. And what are they trying to do? Well, they have some sort of mission. We need to change this part of the process, this step. This robot is not fast enough. What can we do? So let's experiment. What can we do within a couple of hours to improve this? Well, I'm not a skilled programmer of this robot. Well, we don't care. What can you do to learn that? Well, I guess I could sit together with someone else who can. Well, great. let's do that. I mean, we don't do that around here. Well, now we do. You're engineers, you're problem solvers, let's do it. So this is going on 24/7 in this factory. People are working in the factory, at the line, at the machines, improving, improving, improving. Some people at night, some people during the day. Every day of the year. So, they had some success. But also, when it comes to, so we talked about optimizing for speed. And one thing that could impede speed is waiting for approvals. Waiting for decisions to be made. So they're betting on decentralizing decision making. Try to do things locally within these teams. And then if it turns out to be a bad idea, well, we only sacrifice a couple of hours, so it's not that much of a deal. And also, we learn something. And hopefully we do better even the next iteration. And you also need to provide data on everything, so that people can navigate with data. Like, how are the customers using the vehicle? What kind of pressure did this tool have when it was installing this part? How can we understand what the problem actually is and self-manage around trying to solve it? Well, you need to have a lot of data. And you need to have a good way of understanding that data. Because then you can start, again, navigating with this. And again, as I said, it demands that you go outside of your comfort zone when it comes to your skill set and learn new skills and problem solve together. And I guess that if we had some sort of storm or something in the city and things were destroyed or something, we needed to do things, people would work. People would rebuild, and we wouldn't say, oh, well, I have to wait until I get the perfect skilled person to do this part because I'm only doing this. We would work together, try to fix it, learn from each other, right? So that's what they did. So in the end, they managed to turn it around, as you see, from very few cars delivered and produced to constantly increasing and reaching profitability on the Model 3 program in the end. And they're not stopping. They found a recipe on how to work, and they're continuing doing that. So this is where we're at now, 2021 here. And that was with 2 factories. 2 more factories already gone online, ramping this year. 2023 is possibly going to be doubling or more. And then there's more products. More market segments to enter. So the question comes, I mean, it's not like, I think we have to ask ourselves, who would compete? And what do we need to do that, right? And see, what can we learn from these examples? And see, can we challenge anything on the way that we do things around in our companies? To see if we can learn something from these ways of working. So that was the sort of crash course of a little bit of Tesla. And again, I really encourage you to ask questions to Jo, because he is very knowledgeable, and you might ask questions like, but how do you get CPUs in that fast way, or how do you do this and that? So use your skill set, use your specialization, and ask them questions. Because that's, again, how it's going to be unique and valuable for us to be here tonight together.